North Korea has fired 2 ballistic missiles, the latest defiance of a UN Security Council ban on such launches. Government sources in Tokyo were quoted as saying the missiles landed outside Japan's exclusive economic zone. Pyongyang has stepped up missile launches this year.
The British government has been forced to abandon a widely criticised plan to cut income tax for the country's highest earners. The Finance Minister, Kwasi Kwarteng, said the plan had become a distraction and it would be better to cancel it. The BBC political correspondent says this is a humiliating U-turn for the government. The United States and South Korea have conducted a precision aerial bombing exercise in response to North Korea's test firing of a ballistic missile over Japan. It was North Korea's first missile launch over Japan in 5 years. Japan's defence minister said his country would not rule out any option, including counterattack capabilities.
Now, let's tell you about the latest when it comes to the world's richest man. That's Elon Musk. He's changed his mind about buying Twitter again and is now willing to go ahead with his takeover. In a letter to the social media company, Mr. Musk agreed to pay the price he'd originally offered in April. The surprise reversal comes just weeks before the two sides were due in court.
The United States has criticised the decision of OPEC Plus, which includes major oil producers such as Russia and Saudi Arabia, to cut production. President Biden called it short-sighted. The move immediately pushed up oil prices to 3-week highs.
The United States has announced new export controls on computer chips to China to prevent Beijing from using the technology for its military. American firms will be banned from selling certain chips used for supercomputing and artificial intelligence to Chinese companies.
This year's Nobel Prize for Economics has been shared by 3 American bankers. The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences announced that the former chairman of the US Federal Reserve, Ben Bernanke, Douglas Diamond and Philip Dybvig had won the prize for their research on avoiding the financial collapse of banks.
A senior White House official says President Biden is reevaluating Washington's relationship with Saudi Arabia following OPEC's decision last week to cut oil production. Mr. Biden travelled to Saudi Arabia in July in an unsuccessful effort to persuade Riyadh to increase oil production in the face of global shortages following Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Japan's space agency says it sent out a self-destruct signal to its Epsilon rocket soon after it was launched from the island of Kyushu. The Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency said it made the decision after determining that the rocket could not fly safely.
State media in North Korea says its leader Kim Jong-un has supervised the test firing of 2 long-range missiles capable of carrying nuclear weapons. The state news agency said the strategic cruise missiles flew for 2,000 kilometres over the sea.
The Prime Minister and her new Chancellor will hold talks at Chequers today as the government tries to salvage its economic credibility following 3 weeks of market turmoil and policy U-turns. Jeremy Hunt has said his focus is on promoting economic growth underpinned by stability.
South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol has ordered an investigation after a fire caused the temporary shutdown of one of the country's most important mobile apps. The blaze hit the servers of Kakao, which provides a messenger service and allows users to spend money, call a taxi and buy and sell products.
Now, members of the South Korean pop band BTS have announced they will fulfil their military service. Public opinion has been divided over whether to allow the stars an exemption because of their contribution to South Korea's economy. All South Korean men have to serve between 18 and 21 months, and the oldest member of the globally popular group known as Jin will be the first to enlist.
New research suggests that people aged over 50 who sleep less than 5 hours a night could be at increased risk of diseases. The British study recommended getting between 7 and 8 hours of sleep every night.
The British Prime Minister Liz Truss has announced her resignation after days of chaos in her government. Speaking outside number 10 Downing Street, Ms Truss said she couldn't deliver the mandate on which she'd been elected. She's been Prime Minister for only 6 weeks and her tenure is by far the shortest in British history.
China's President Xi Jinping has been confirmed as leader of the Communist Party for a 3rd term, solidifying his control over the country. His decision to stay on as General Secretary breaks recent tradition. His loyal supporters have been promoted to the all-powerful Politburo Standing Committee.
Britain's former finance minister Rishi Sunak has won the contest to be leader of the governing Conservative Party and the next Prime Minister. He'll be the first person of colour ever to hold the post and, at 42, the youngest Prime Minister in more than 200 years.
Rishi Sunak represents the Conservative Party in England, and he becomes Britain's third leader in 7 weeks. Rishi Sunak, the son of Indian immigrants and the first Prime Minister of colour in the country's history. And at 42 years old, he's also the youngest in more than 200 years. If you're like me, you can't stand mosquitoes. They buzz up on you, take a bite without invite, they suck your blood like a vampire. Not cool. But have you ever noticed that some people aren't bothered by mosquitoes at all? Well, scientists are discovering why some people are indeed mosquito magnets while others aren't.
The South Korean electronics giant Samsung has appointed Lee Jae-yong as its executive chairman, 2 months after he was pardoned in a corruption case. Mr. Lee is the third generation of his family to run the company.
Elon Musk has now completed his $44 billion deal to buy Twitter after months of legal battles, and he's changed his own Twitter title to Chief Twit. The company's chief executive is reported to be among a number of senior figures who've already been fired. Sources told US media they were escorted from the firm's headquarters. Mr. Musk just tweeted, "The bird is freed," to his 110 million followers.
시청해 주셔서 감사합니다. 다음 시간에 뵙겠습니다.